What's up, guys? It's Aaron from Aaron Anderson Photography. Welcome to the new studio and welcome to 2018. We're here to shoot the latest episode of Behind the Image from our Underworld inspired shoot with model Alyssa Goode. So as usual, I want to take you guys through some of the tools that we were using that day so you can get an idea of some of the things you might need to have on set to recreate what we were doing. The first one, and honestly there's been a lot of questions about these online, so we're going to be doing a tutorial about these shortly. So I'll touch on them pretty quickly, but flags, there are these guys right here. Black flags, I use them a lot, and you use black flags to cut light on people's faces. So if you can see, I have a light coming from above, and if you can see, I can cut this light on my face, or if I wanted to cut it from this side, I can cut it from this side. And you can really position those in a lot of cool ways to reshape light on people's faces. This is an 18 by 24 inch black flag. I think we were using the 24 by 48 inch black flag on set that day because we were flagging off a big octobox, and that was to control lighting on her face. These are one of my best friends. I use them in the studio all the time, so something to think about picking up for your studio. Up next, and something you guys have all seen before, but I wanted to talk to you about kind of a cool trick, I guess. ELB 400. Again, it's a go-to light for me. I take it on set, I take it on location, but one of the reasons I have it on studio sets is to use on a boom arm. What's cool is they're small and they don't have a bunch of cords hanging off that have to go down into the ground and into an outlet. So you can hang it on something, get it up nice and high, and even move it around if you need to, if you have it on a roller stand, and don't have to worry about cords being all over the place. I mean, they're already heavy with all the weights you're gonna have on your stands because of the boom arm. So this kind of just takes a little bit of the headache out of it. And I've really started using this all the time, anytime I put a light up overhead on a big boom arm. The final thing, and you guys have seen this a million times, the D-Lite RX4. It's a workhorse, it's one of my go-tos. One of my favorite things about it is that you can set it up with the ELB 400, now the ELB 1200, and do high-speed sync and do some awesome stuff. And I have, I think, 5 of these in studio, so if we're doing something with an athlete, we can do fast movement, push our shutter speed up to 1,000th of a second, 2,000th of a second, and still be totally fine and crystal clear images. So just a couple quick tips today. Again, we are going to be doing a tutorial on flags in the next coming weeks, but without any further ado, let's hop into Photoshop. Alrighty guys, well, we made it into Photoshop and it is gonna be a wild ride, so I hope you guys are ready for some crazy lighting setups. As usual, I'm going to start you off with what we had in the barrel as far as light modifiers go. For starters, we had this gigantic light motive indirect octobox up above the model. So we had a big boom arm, counterweighted, all that jazz, up above her to create this really cool top light. Then we had a big 69-inch octobox, which we use a variety of ways, and I'll show you that. It's kind of, we had some fun uses for this one this time. My personal fave, the 53-inch octa, we used a couple different ways. And then the large strip, which is the 20-inch by 51-inch, and the small strip, this guy right here, which is the 14 by 35-inch. Again, some creative uses that we had for this one, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Some kind of fun things that you can do with it. That being said, let's jump into our first image, and that is this one right here. And this, we shot everything as a composite, which I'll talk about in just a second. But this is just the composite portrait that we did. So let's go back and take a look. Like I said, crazy lighting setup. And the first thing I want to mention is this background right here. And it is Thunder Gray. You've heard me talk about Thunder Gray before. Reason I'm using Thunder Gray, especially with a model like this, is she has really blonde or kind of grayish blonde hair in this case. And it's really easy to separate that hair color from this background. So you really just want to think about what you're compositing and to where. In this case, blonde against gray was a really easy extraction, and so on and so forth. If you had a brunette model, for instance, or a darker, say black-haired model, you might go with a white in the background or a lighter gray, which would make it a little bit easier to pull them later. So up above, 75-inch indirect light motive, and that was really just to provide kind of an ambient glow above her. because this one's so big and I was using all my flags for other things, we actually just moved her to the edge of the octabox so that it wouldn't spill onto her face. And that's something effective you can do. If you don't have a flag, just push the model to the edge of the light and that'll act as its own flag, but still be nice and soft. Then camera left, we had a 53-inch octa with a large black flag in front of it. And the black flag is going to be the 24 by 36 in this case. And if you guys have seen my dramatic one light setup, this is that setup, but with some modifications. So we've got this black flag to kind of cut the light off of her face and keep it from spilling all the way and create some drama. And then this nice big octabox, which creates its own kind of soft fill. And then this is where the fun begins. And I really like this lighting style. It's something we kind of developed. It's a little finicky and crazy, but it works really well. So let's hop back into the image really quick. I just want to show you. So we have the strip box up underneath of the model, and you can see its light is going to be coming right here on the cheek, a little bit here on the eye, underneath, under here, and over here. And what's so cool about this is that it's actually an underlight. So this light is underneath of her with all the diffusers taken off, meaning it's completely hard light just kind of blasting out of here. Now, in order to have a little bit of control, I have an assistant holding a small flag just over the front of this modifier, and that keeps it from spilling all over like a crazy person onto the other side of her face, and just gives you those really cool, almost spectral highlights on the skin. I'll be doing a tutorial on this lighting here soon, just because it's one of my new kind of favorites, but that is the skinny on this lighting setup. Up next, we have this one here, which is one of my favorites, actually. It's kind of, a lot of times I go into a shoot with a look or an image in mind, and this was definitely one of those images. Lots of different stuff going on in this one. It is only a 4-light setup, but still a lot of fun. So let's dive into the lighting diagram here. A couple of fun things going on. Now, this isn't that dissimilar of the recent tutorial I did with a 3-light setup. It's a 4-light setup, and then some different things going on up top here. So again, we have the 75-inch indirect light motive overhead, and that's going to be a consistent theme just because once it's up there, it's kind of cumbersome to get it back down and move it around. Then over here, we have the 53-inch octabox, and there's no flag on it this time. It's just, we wanted the nice soft light coming from the front. And then as a kind of brighter rim-ish light, we had the large 20-inch by 51-inch back behind her. Now, the interesting thing about this is that we do have the large flag up on an arm above her, and that is to stop some of the light from spilling onto her face. Sometimes when you do an overhead light that's this big, it can really affect the lighting on the face, and to control that, you can use a nice big flag just to kind of stop some of it from going in the front, if you will. Then back here we have a big 69-inch octabox, and that was really to provide fill. You've seen me use the 75-inch for fill, but the 69-inch works great as well. So that's something for you guys to know if you don't want to spend whatever, the $1,500 or whatever the price tag is on that one, on that indirect. The 69-inch is a really affordable and extremely useful octabox to have. And you'll see in the next shoot how we can use it in different ways as well. So nothing too crazy, pretty cool, pretty straightforward setup. Again, here's our final image, and you can see here where that rim light's coming in. And we had that light cranked up pretty well so that it really gave that flash. Then up here you have your octabox, and it was up high, kind of coming down a little bit. So you've got these nice highlights on the cheekbones and above the eyes, things like that. And then that overhead light, again, is just giving this nice fill up above here, but we wanted to stop it. And when you get into this 3-light setup, what can end up happening is this stuff in here ends up going a little bit dark, especially through here. And I really didn't want that for this because I wanted you to be able to see all these cool rivets and designs that we had on the corset. So heading back to that one, that's the point of
this octabox here is just to bring out the details that you're seeing. And then this one is just to give that fill coming in across here. And that nice rim light is coming from here that you saw. And again, that's coming from over here. And you got your big octabox coming in this way. Okay, that's it for this one. We've got one more. Let's get into it. We made it. We are on the final image, and it is this guy right here. Lots of stuff going on, lots of different images from all over the place. I actually had to travel a couple places to get these, but really fun stuff and some really fun use of different lighting techniques. So let's hop back over and talk about it. So with this one, we wanted a little more drama. Obviously, I had already planned to do this shot, so I knew there was going to be a moon back there and that there was going to be light coming from behind, and I wanted to feel like night and feel kind of dramatic. So here's what we did. We took that 69-inch octa that you guys saw in the last image and moved it around the back, and we purposely put it off to the one side because I wanted the moon to kind of be off to one side. So literally, this is our moon, and yes, you could create light on the model's arms, say back here in post-production, but I wanted it to be there because it just looks a little more authentic. So we swing this around, have her stand in front of it and just kind of off the edge of it, so you've got like a moon shape behind her. Then we still had our indirect overhead with it flagged because I didn't want it to brighten up the front. In this case, I wanted it to go dark. I know in the last one I talked about how we were opening up those, the details inside of the corset, but this time I wanted it to go almost to black in the front. So we brought the octabox over to the side just a little bit. Strip box still aimed as a more or less rim light, and this is what you get. So zoom in a little bit, you can see that the top light's coming in right here, and you can see where it's flagged. Actually, it starts to kind of drop off up here where this gets nice and dark. And then this here is going to be your octabox in the front. And this is what I was talking about. You can see how in the middle all the way up to here, without a fill in the front, it goes really dark, almost to black. Depending on how contrasty your screen is, this might even look a little bit black to you. So we really had to think through what we wanted it to look like. And this is what I love. If you see this back here, this wrap and this kind of glow, that's coming from behind her, and that's coming from our quote-unquote moon that is sitting that 69-inch octabox. So there you go, kind of a creative use of the 69-inch octabox. If you've been around for any length of time, you know that I love throwing octaboxes behind subjects to create white backgrounds. But in this case, we were using it to make a moon. So something a little bit different, maybe something you don't see every day. Well, that's gonna do it. Let's wrap things up. There you go, guys. Some kind of fun composite lighting setups. This is something that I will look at doing a tutorial for you guys shortly on kind of the composite and what went into all of the retouching, because it was pretty heavy on the Photoshop side, but make no mistake, without the lighting, it really makes your composites look drab. So make sure you're focusing on that lighting if you're moving into composite photography, because it is really, really important to the realism. Thank you guys again so much for watching. It is always a blast showing you guys our techniques. Make sure you click that like button or hit subscribe. And until next time, be awesome.